Hey guys, sorry this is taking so long to record. It's been kind of a rough week, so I'm gonna adjust a little bit with this assignment. So um, if you are able to follow through the book and get everything done for next week, perfect. If you're not, don't worry. I can extend it until the following week just so that you can get the help during Flex Lab that you need to do this. We'll have some time too to go over any questions that you have, so please go through Chapter 13 before we meet again on Tuesday. Because Chapter 14 is fairly similar actually. It just has to do with different ways to do these layouts and fun ways to work with these layouts. So we're going to have time to go through some of this stuff in class from 13. So bring those questions with you. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to try and walk you through some of the things and clarify anything on the assignment, and really just have you go through this chapter and follow through the steps on your own. The print module is kind of a cool thing. This is where you would go to prepare your images to print, or if you have, let's say you have someone who wants several sizes of the same image, the print package actually allows you to, sorry, I lost my train of thought, actually allows you to do a package where you can put multiple images on one page and fit as many as possible, because you know, if you have, let's say, an 8x10 image, you can fit two 5x7s on that, and the cost to print one 8x10 with two 5x7s on it that you just cut apart yourself is actually a lot less than ordering two 5x7s individually. So there's some cost-saving things in there too. But what I want to do is walk you through some of these things. So I have just a small handful of images here that I'm going to use with something I'm editing currently. So I'm going to select the images I want to use. I only have like 32 right here, but we're going to go with it. And I'm going to go to the print module. And some of these things are very much like the book and the slideshow, so there's only a handful of things to discuss because of some of the differences in there. But I want to work pretty much top to bottom right here. And in the print, let's see, in the print module right here, if I go to this layout style at the top, this single image or contact sheet is the only option that I have for this one. So basically what this does is I pick a layout, and in the template browser on the left hand side here, there are some, let's see, I have my own user templates, but Lightroom has a handful of templates built in here. And basically what it is I can pick one individual image, like if I want one 8x10 here. It would print an 8x10 on whatever size paper I have selected. This particular paper, I can tell with my rulers on, is set up to, well, this one is set to 8x10, but I have some guides showing up here that I don't want. I would have to fix this. The guides work just like they do in the book, where you can grab and drag those. Now, one thing you have to be aware of is when you create this kind of stuff, you're going to have to pay attention to the print setup menu. You're going to have to look at, oh, maybe I went in the wrong one. No, where is it? Print setup. I'm going to have to manage custom sizes. Here's what I'm going to have to do. Because by default, we can't always print a zero-inch margin. You know, it's like when you print something from Word, you have to have like a 1/4 inch margin on all the sides at minimum. So what you might have to do for some of the things that you play around with, not along with, sorry, is go into, first I went to page setup, and in page setup under paper size, while it does have a letter size sheet of paper, if you mouse and hold over it, you'll notice it shows me that my top, bottom, left, right, I do have a 1/4 inch or more margin on each of those sides. So what I want to do is go into manage custom sizes so that I can set these margins whatever I want and create new custom size layouts, which is going to be useful a little bit later. So I'm just kind of giving you a head start, I guess, on some of the other things they're going to be doing. So some of your printers don't print margin edge to edge also. So, you know, unless you have a borderless printer, you might want to increase the size of your document so that you can get the size image that you want in there, if that makes any sense. But you can add and customize whatever pages you want for whatever sizes that you want and do some fun things with it. So I'm going to cancel out of here for just a moment. But if I go to this layout right here, I'm trying to think, why is it showing? What do I have set to horizontal? That's weird. Set to vertical. What would happen if I did it this way? Nope. Let's try this. There we go. Not quite sure what happened there. But in this single image, what it is however many, let's say I want to print 10 8x10s. What's really cool about this is I can select, okay, I'm going to select the 8x10, and any images that I have selected, it's going to create an 8x10 print from. So if I have nothing selected, it's empty. But as I add stuff in here, this one, I'm just going to grab a handful of images here. There we go. So as I select images, what you're going to notice in that bottom right corner, and sorry if you can hear my fan, it says page 1 of 6. So it's creating an 8x10 page for all the images that I have selected. This saves time with having to do drag and drop like every image, kind of like you do in the book. And then I can position the image here on the page too. So, you know, I'm fitting within this 8x10 space. Now it's correct here. It says 8.5 by 11. So here's my 8x10 image in my letter size sheet of paper. And I can click this arrow. I'm going to click the right arrow. Here's my next one. Sarah's going to hate me for having that image up. And I can just click from one page to the next, position whatever it is, however it is I want to or need to do it on this page, and go to each one and get it ready to print. And I'm done. So it's a really, really fast process. But just like everything else we've done between the book and the slideshow, we need to create a saved print. Because as I deselect images, it's going to change the number of pages. It's going to change everything. It'll probably just save my 8x10, but it's not going to save my images within there. I know this doesn't make sense, but you'll see this in a second here. So if I do create saved print, I'm going to do 8x10 prints. I'm going to save it inside this wedding collection that I have created, so everything's kind of hanging out together. And what I want to do is I want to only include the used photos. So the 6 I have selected right now are the 6 that are going to be saved. So I'm going to hit create. I'm going to see my 8x10 prints show up here. Here's my 6. And all 6 images have the 6 pages showing up here. Now here's something that's going to happen. If I go back to this wedding, you know, maybe I'm doing some stuff here and editing some more things, and I go back to the print module, well, of course, let me go back here. If I click back on the 6 here, sometimes, of course mine stayed selected, but sometimes what happens is nothing is selected. Don't freak out, that will happen. All you simply have to do is reselect these images. So all I have to do is select all 6 images again, and it puts all the images back in. And I'm good to go. So it just simply, this is simply because if I want to add more images to this, this is all it is an 8x10 template with 6 images. Let's say I go back here, I go back to my pics, and I decide I want to add in this one into my print. I'm going to just drag it in here to this mini collection, and now it's added in, and when I select all of them again, I automatically have 7 of 7 pages, and I may just have to come in and position this a little bit differently, but it's ready to go. I can send this to print now if I want to. I can come all the way down here, check some of my options, which I'll get to in a second here, and then simply print a file, or if I, oops, I passed it. A little too far here. Here we go. Or simply print to a specific printer and send it off to print. So the template is there and ready to go. Don't freak out if nothing shows up. As long as your images are across the bottom, just select them, you're done. Now the other part of this single image contact sheet is the contact sheet. This is great if you are in advanced photography right now. Here we go. If you're in advanced photography, you're working on your portfolio and you have to put in a contact sheet with your camera settings. This makes it really, really easy to do. So there is contact sheet templates in here. And I always recommend starting with a template and then tweaking it to what you want, and then saving it as another template, kind of like we do presets. You just hit the little plus button here and you're good to go. I recommend doing that with a lot of things. It's often easier than starting a document from scratch. But before I switch over to this contact sheet template, I have to warn you, and I put this in your assignment. If I switch over here, I put this in your assignment. As you create every print for this assignment, you have to make sure that you go back to the collection before you change the layout, because Lightroom auto saves just like it does, like it did with your book and things like that. Once you hit create saved print, anything you do, it auto saves on top of that. So if you want an 8x10 print and you want a contact sheet, you can't click on the contact sheet yet because it's going to override your 8x10. So I'm going to go back here to my full collection of images, back to my pics. I have 7. I'm just going to select all of these, to be honest. I'm going to select all 32 of these photos. I'm going to, and see, now I'm back to create saved print because I'm in the collection where I haven't saved anything yet. So going back to the collection, selecting the images, I don't want that one, selecting the images that I have here. I just need to take it down a little bit. I have too many pictures. I don't need any of these. I just want to get it down to like 25 or so. And then, if I switch templates, I'm not going to screw up my 8x10 one. So I'm going to do the 5x, let's do the 4x5. The 4x5 contact sheet is exactly the 20 images that you need for advanced photography. But here's what it does. With any image you have selected, when you select the contact sheet, it plops all the images in there within the space that falls within the guides that you've created. And look at that, you can change these if you want to. It's very easy to do that. And then you have some options here, which for the contact sheet I wouldn't do, but for some of the other things, like zoom to fill within that square space. I wouldn't do that for the contact sheet so that you can see vertical or horizontal. But one thing you can do, if it kind of annoys you to have some horizontal and vertical, you can have it rotate. Oh, it didn't do it. Why didn't it do it? Maybe it doesn't work on the contact sheet. You can have it rotate to fit within a certain space. Oh, this is a square. That's why it's not doing it. You can have it rotate to fit within a certain space. What if I did this? Oh, it's stuck over the square. I'm just going to try and mess something up. No, it's not. All my margins are synced. That's okay. But it would just rotate so that everything shows in the same direction if you're slightly OCD like me when it comes to things like that. But here's what it does. By default, it's putting the image number below it. I don't know how well you can see that. I can't zoom in right here. But it puts the image number by default. But you can choose down here, if I scroll down to photo info, so it's under the page tab, photo info, it's checked on right now. If you go in here and you edit, you can choose what information appears underneath. So if you want file name and maybe the date that it was taken for something, I often print contact sheets for like vacations or special things that we do so that I can keep it together in a little booklet. And if somebody wants to, somebody wants prints from something, like if it was a vacation with my family, maybe it was Christmas or something like that, I'll put it all together in a booklet and then just hand it to whoever, and they kind of mark down the images that they want, and then I just go ahead and order that. This can be used too for a client, so if you want to create a quick proof book for a client, you can simply create a contact sheet with the file name, I wouldn't do as many images. I might do like 4 or 6 images per page so they can see enough of it. But this is a quick way to do a proof book for somebody. And then you can add whatever you want. You know, for a client, it's probably just an image number. For you or for advanced photography, in the case where you're going to need some of your camera settings, you're going to want to put the other stuff in there. So in here, file name, I'm going to hit the space bar. I'm going to put in my exposure, space, space, my ISO, space, and I want the date. Let's see, month, day, year, sounds good to me. I think I want, yeah, we'll just do it that way, that's fine. And I can switch it up here too, it might be a little bit easier. I want something specific. And no, I'm just going to leave it. This is fine. But this is everything that I would need. You know, in the case for advanced photography, I can save this as a preset, save current settings as new preset, and I can say, oops, I can spell exposure. I want this to be exposure, date, name. Create. Done. And ta-da! Everything's there. So once you get that preset set up the first time, all you have to do is select it and you are good to go. The only thing it does is it fits everything within the space that you've provided. So as you add more information, it makes the image a little bit smaller, but this is how you would create a contact sheet. So I could create saved print again, and I could call this contact sheet, save it inside the wedding here, use only included photos. I could definitely do that, and then it saves it right here. So again, stressing the importance of going back to the collection before you create a new print. Otherwise my 8x10 becomes my contact sheet and everyone gets frustrated and mad at me because their assignment isn't working. But that's what you have to do. You'll also notice that it has 20 images per page, but I have 25 images selected. It automatically created a second page for the last 5 images. So, very automatic, kind of digging it. But that's pretty much everything when it comes to the single image contact sheet. To go back to the collection here again before I change something, here, select all these images. Actually, no, I lie. I just want to select a small handful here. And I want to do that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. What I'm going to do with these images is I'm going to go into the next one, which is the picture package. Picture package, I can't speak today. And now I could create one. You'll see when you click picture package, it does give you a blank template that I can then create my own package from. But Lightroom does have a few templates if you wanted to play around with those. I'll show you what it does when it has multiple images on a page. Like this one is a 4x6 and 6 2x3s, kind of like your standard school picture package. And when you click it, it puts the image inside there, and all the settings here, like it has zoom to fill, so it's going to fit your image within that space. It will rotate to fit automatically to fill that space up. And then, I don't want a photo border. I don't like that that's checked on. Check that off here. There we go. So I checked off the photo border, so now it's truly a 2x3 and a 5x7. That is not, or I'm sorry, 4x6, not 5x7. When you look at the rulers, you'll see it extends a little bit beyond 6, but that's because you have a 1/4 inch margin right here on all sides. So this is a 4x6. These are 2x3 images. But you also notice that it only puts one picture per page. It's assuming when you're putting an image into a picture package that you want the same image for this entire package. So the 6 2x3s and the 1 4x6. So it will create a page for each image and it will fit it within there. Now the one thing I can't do, the only downfall to the picture package is you can't grab and drag. Oh wait, yes I can. You can't click on it and grab and drag. Sorry, I forgot what I had to do. If you want to move the image around, you have to hold down the Command key, Control key on a PC, and then click and drag. Come on, why isn't it moving? Or I lie. Why is it not working? Should be working. This is not in the same aspect ratio. Oh wait, the 4:6 is. Okay, sorry. The 4:6 is in the aspect ratio. I can't drag it around. I want to do this real quick. There we go. My 4:6 is the same aspect ratio as the as my camera is on the crop sensor on my camera. So if you have a picture package where you do have the ability to move it around, you hold down the command or the control key on a PC, and then you can click and drag. It will move all of them, which is probably what you want anyway, but that is the way you're going to have to move it around versus the single image contact sheet where you can simply just grab it and drag it. You have to hold down the command key here, and that is because you can customize these packages, and without doing that you can grab and drag the image around on the page. So that's the reason why you have to hold down the command key. Let me go back to this one here. Photo borders, don't like them. There is a slight stroke on this image, if you notice. That is the inner stroke that's applied on there. The only reason I would suggest that is if you have an image with a lighter background where it's going to be hard to see where the edges are when you cut it. I don't really have one in here. But when you're looking for the edges to cut, it can be hard to see. So I would put the thinnest line possible, and a 0.2 is the smallest stroke that you can put on. So that's what I would recommend. If it's pretty obvious where the cut lines are, you can just simply turn that off and not worry about it. But I'm going to create a saved print here before I do anything else. Package. So you can see here now I have 3 different prints, and if I click back on each one, it saved my contact sheet, saved my 8x10, and my picture package. But it's only selecting 2 right now, which is weird. So I select all of them, and I'm back to 5 pages. There we go. All right. So yeah, so picture package, I mean, there's only so much to talk about right there when you're using it from a template. I want to briefly show you how to do it from scratch. So I'm going to go back to the collection here, and back to the collection, I want to kind of delete everything else because I created one. Let me just select a different one here so it's a little bit easier. Oops, that's a single image. I'm just going to simply delete these. You can pick any template. If you don't have a blank document right here, you can easily click a template for a picture package and just simply delete these cells out. The other option, oops, no, can't do it with this one. There's a quick way, clear layout, here we go. Otherwise, if you have a template, you can also click clear the layout so that you get a blank page. And now I can customize this to what I want. I'm going to do something a little bit different here. I'm going to go to page setup, and I'm going to change the page size. I'm going to create an 11:14, and I'm going to put like an 8:10 and a few smaller sizes on there. So just a bigger print so I can get a few more images out of it basically. So I'm going to click OK here. And sorry, I should have noted, this 11:14, I created that in the custom sizes. So I created a new one, and I made it an 11:14. I'm going to make this one horizontal, 14:11, and then I set all the margins to 0. Oops, I got click happy. There we go. And then I just titled this 14:11. Let's do that. Okay. There we go. Okay. There it is. So my new document with 0 margins, that's one thing you'll have to do in your assignment too, just kind of as a heads up right here. It is borderless. Create a borderless letter size multi-photo contact sheet. You're also going to, there's another one in here where you're going to change the borders. I had it in another spot. I'm scanning pretty quick here, so I might be missing it. But just so you know, if it says create borderless or with 0-inch margins anywhere in your assignment, right there also, that's where you would go to do that. You're going to go to the page setup, and you're going to pretty much have to create a custom size where you change the margins and just save it as a new one. But I have this document here. It is a 14 by 11 document, and now I'm just going to start adding whatever I want in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in 8 by 10, and you'll see right here there's cells. And now these are some of the defaults, but you can make all 6 of these whatever it is that you want it to be. You can see there are some presets that are in here that are typical sizes that if you see something that's not in there, like maybe you want to do a long narrow print like a 5 by 10. I do that often for certain things. Usually it's on an easel, but let's just use it as an example. I'm going to do 10 inches by 5 inches, and I'm going to add that, and you'll see it'll stick that in the list right here. And automatically add it to your thing, but it just gives you a few more to select. But let me delete this real quick. So you can make these whatever it is you want it to be. So all 6 of these can be different sizes, and then all you have to do is simply click on what one you want, and it adds it in there. And then you can position it wherever it is you want. You can rotate these and stuff like that. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this 8 by 10. I'm going to add a couple, these 2.5 by 3.5 are wallet size. So I'm going to add a few of those, and it's just going to auto fit all of these on there. And when I get to the point where it can't fit anymore on the page, do not worry. I can, once I click on something that doesn't fit on a page, when I click the next size, maybe I want a couple 5 by 7s, it just automatically adds another page. So this particular package is going to be a multiple page package. So I can add a couple 5 by 7s, maybe a 4 by 6. Oh, it does fit. Yay. Oh, I did do that. It's over here. There we go. And it automatically snaps. It automatically snaps to the edges here. I might actually, for ease of cutting, do that. It's going to be a tiny bit easier to slice those apart then. But I have created my own custom picture package, so I can offer this to somebody, and you know, it could be just a small little package where it's one pose image, you know, fine art piece, whatever it is you want, and it is simply 2 5 by 7s, or an 8 by 10, 2 5 by 7s, 3 4 by 6s, and 6 wallets. And then that could be a package. I simply drag and drop the image in it, position it however I want, and this image is ready to go. I can send it to print. Now right now I have 5 images selected, so if you guess here, I have a page for each one. And I just simply have to adjust. Oh, there. I just simply have to adjust and I'm ready to go. Again, it'll move all the images based on whatever aspect ratio that particular image is, and yay, voila, I'm done. So I could, maybe this is something I want to save, hit the plus sign. I have no idea what to call this. I'm going to try and mimic what they do for the Lightroom templates. 1 8 by 10, 2 5 by 7. You guys, I'm losing my mind here. 3 4 by 6, and 6. Call it. And I'm going to save it to the user templates, create, and happy day. It appears under my user templates. And if I want this to be something I use for this particular collection, I'm going to create a saved print, and I'm just going to call this large. package. Nothing too fancy. But now I have the large one, I have this one, and then all the other stuff I've created so far. So hopefully this is making sense, but this is how you would add these cells to the document. Create multiple pages if you want multiple pages. Just makes it super, super easy to do. I have to admit, I need to use this module just a little bit more, because when I order prints for people, I could easily create this so that it is just a drag and drop, and then I drag a single image into the Rose software, which is what most of the labs use, that you just like select an 11 by 14, plop the image in there, and you have 6 prints. You'll get one sheet, and then you would have to manually cut that apart. I guess that's a bonus and a negative, but probably save you a few bucks, to be honest. So that's pretty much everything when it comes to the picture package. The only other thing is, and this will tie a little bit into, yeah, lost my train of thought here. This will tie in a little bit into what we're talking about next week, but also as part of your assignment here, this fine art mat, he actually walks you right through this, but there is, oops, that's the custom picture package, custom layout. From number 5. Oop, I lied. We are going to do ourselves. Sorry, I need to reread something. Lost my train of thought here. Lightroom. The custom package is kind of a cool one, and again, I got to go back to the collection first. I'm going to deselect, but go into here, and I want to select these last handful of images, just these 4. I'm going to go into the custom package. Custom package is kind of a cool thing here. This is like creating a page in a book. Remember when we talked about the book and you wanted to, maybe some of the templates that were in the book module and it just didn't fit what you wanted to do? You can come into the print module. There's a way to fake it. We walked through it real briefly. You can always go back to that if you want to from the recording from when we did the book. But this is a way to fake that you can create. Let's say you're doing like an 8x8 book. I can come up here. Let's see, I don't think I have one saved in here. Nope. This is kind of cool, and again, this leads into what we're going to do next week, but you can create things like blog post templates, stuff like that. The difference between custom package and picture package, both allow you to do multiple images on a page, but a picture package has one image on the whole page, whereas the custom package allows you to put different images on a single page. So this is where it's great for doing pages for your book. You could create templates for an entire wedding album if you do weddings, and then you just drag and drop everything from Lightroom in here and export those as JPEGs, upload it to the site you print your books from, and you're done. That saves time from saving the images out, going into Photoshop, opening the templates, clipping all the images to the boxes, and then flattening and saving it as a JPEG. So this actually saves a few steps if you spend the time to create these. You can buy presets for print, just like we did presets for the develop module and doing effects on our image. You can buy presets to do that. Actually, a couple of these blog ones were downloaded from a website and they were a free download. But you can use this custom package template to post things to Facebook, to do different things on it. And just like in the book module, you have the option, and again, this goes for any of these layout styles, you have the option of doing an identity plate where it would put your name somewhere on here. This template I selected has a black background, which is why you're seeing it the way you are with the red grid lines on it. The red grid lines don't print. The final image does not have that on. That is simply, show guides, that is simply so you can position things and line them up appropriately. So turn those off if that's driving you crazy, but that's what it's going to look like when it's done. So yeah, just like the book, we have the option to change our guides, all that kind of stuff. But what I'm going to do here, let's see, match, that's a single image. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create a new document. I'm going to create a whole new template here. I'm going to make this, I'm trying to think what I want for this. I created a Facebook preview, and it says it's 11 inches by 5.5, but it saves out as a low resolution, which I'll get to in a second here, how you save this stuff or send it right to print. So I converted pixels to inches and wanted to have just like a long strip document to create what I wanted to do. Sorry, I have children coming in asking for a snack, and I'm trying to do this before the youngest wakes up. He's starting to move. Our time is limited. No, I'm kidding. So I can go in there and create a custom one, but I'm just going to create this custom preview size right here that I've already set. I'm just going to use this one, and I'm just going to clear all these. Let's clear this layout here. I might even leave it as a white background. Let's change this back. Okay, so all I want to do is I want to create a preview thing, maybe like a sneak peek for a session or something like that, with my name on it. I'm going to add my identity plate, and actually I like where it put it. Undo that. It centered it just perfectly. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some custom cells that I'm eventually going to plop the images into. So I'm going to do, actually it doesn't even matter what I add, to be honest, because I can grab and resize this however I want. So maybe I want a little cushion right there. So maybe I want one image here. I'm going to add another one. What's cool is if I want this same size in a custom layout, I can duplicate it by holding down my Option key. Maybe not. There it goes. Don't click on the edge. Hold down the Option key in the middle. And then I'm going to click and I'm going to drag this over to the other side. Then I might put a few more here, but I'm going to change these a little bit. I'm going to make this a more of a horizontal narrow one. I'm going to put one right here. And now I'm going to have to find the difference between the two here. And then I'm going to create one more down here. Only this one seems to be a little off. This one's going to be a long narrow print. Yeah. So this is going to be my layout. There we go. No. You see that tiny little, I don't know if you guys can even see that. Let me back down. I'm trying to use the trackpad on the laptop. It's proving to be difficult. There we go. Now that bottom is flush. Again, little OCD. I need to make sure those are lined up correctly. So I have 5 prints for a preview size, long, narrow little web image that I'm going to create. So I'm going to create this. I'm going to create this as a new template. I'm going to call it 5up, what's the word I'm looking for? Identity Facebook preview. Create that, and then I'm just going to, you'll notice that even though I have 4 images selected, it isn't putting them in there, and that's because it's a custom package and you can put whatever image you want in whatever box you want. So it's not going to put them in there because it doesn't know what you want to put. So I'm going to start by, let's try this one. I don't know if this is going to work in there. There we go. Oh, I have my watermark selected on here. Which color? Where am I looking here? I'm going to draft border. I'm missing it. It's in a super obvious. Past it. Watermark. I don't want the watermark on there right now. If you choose watermark, by the way, if you choose watermark, it's going to put it on every image if you have multiple images on a page. Not always a bad thing. Kind of a nice thing when you're doing the picture package, though, because you could position your logo on the bottom right corner and not worry about it. So it's kind of a good deal. So I'm just going to finish dragging and dropping these in here. I'll move these around as I want. There's no way to zoom on here, just so you know. So you got to crop your images the way you want ahead of time. This one here and this one here. Because they're goofy and I enjoy that image. Oh, that one is the exact size. Okay. I don't want borders. So it's photo border. There we go. I don't want any borders whatsoever. Now I can see I have a little gap in between there, but we're going to leave that as is. Turn off my guides momentarily so I can kind of see how it's looking. Not too bad. So this is basically how that custom package works. Now one thing I would suggest, so I saved my, down here somewhere, here it is. So I saved my template first before I started dragging images in. Now that I've brought in all of the images that I want, I'm going to create saved print again. I'm going to call this Facebook preview. Again, can't spell. There we go. And then I just want to make sure that it includes only the used photos so that it doesn't include everything in my collection as part of it. I just want the ones I've put in there, and now I'm going to create that and I'm good to go. So my Facebook preview image has 5. Everything is still as I created it. You can see here all my images are deselected again, which freaks people out. In your timeline, do a Command A, select all, and your contact sheet is back to the way it should be. Probably did the same thing with my prints. Nope. So, oh, it just deselected the one. But if I go back here, there we go. It should, you'll notice that I've deselected a couple here, but it still kept the images in there. Because the custom package allows you to drag and drop, when you create the saved image, it should, but I've had a couple of instances where the images disappeared and they had to be dragged back in there. They're still in the timeline here, but they didn't hold in here. Happens sometimes, doesn't happen all the time, but if it does to you, don't worry. Just drag and drop the images back in there. Your layout, at least, will stay there. So I'm done. I'm ready to go here. Now I want to show you how to get it out of Lightroom, because obviously that's usually that last step that you're kind of wondering about. So the last thing I want to show you is to go down to the bottom here under Print Job, and under Print Job I have the option of selecting printer or selecting a JPEG file. For the example of this one, I'm going to send to JPEG. But if I choose send it to printer, some of this stuff becomes unavailable, and I would have to go to print settings and to the printer with the ... for the dialog box and choose all the different settings that I want before I send it to print. I'm going to cancel out of that. Now I'm gonna be honest with you. I have not successfully sent an image from Lightroom straight to a printer and liked the result that I got. I know I have to do a little bit of playing to see why that's not coming out right, but I will send, like if I save this as a JPEG, send it to a printer from Photoshop, and then I send the image here straight to a printer, I will get 2 very different results. And I know it's a profile setting somewhere that's being missed, but just to forewarn you, you do have to do a little bit of setup here that I'm obviously missing something myself to get the result that you would get from other software from Lightroom. So what I usually end up doing is I just save it to a JPEG and then I send it to the printer like via Photoshop or directly upload it to my lab, and I'm good to go that way too. So just be aware. Draft mode printing is solely just when you're in this module, it speeds up how you're viewing the image. It's not showing you like the full resolution of the image in here, just so that it loads faster and all that stuff. So when you're ready to print and save, you want to uncheck draft mode printing. But file resolution you want to set This particular one is going on the web, so I don't need this at 240. I may want to set this at 72 ppi, simply because it's the web image. I may or may not want to do print sharpening on this, or I might just do a standard setting. Media type not as crucial here because I'm not printing to an actual printer for this one. JPEG quality, again, that's kind of like we did from the export menu. If you're printing to, like we did the example of White House custom color for that, and you guys discovered that 84 was the magical number for White House, you would set that JPEG setting there. Sorry. And then we have color management options. So just like we talked about earlier this semester, we talk about it in digital editing, advanced photography, pretty much every class. The profile you want to make sure matches where you're printing to. So if your particular lab requires Adobe RGB, you want to make sure you export it and so that it embeds that profile into your image. Also, on the camera end, you kind of just want your camera to be set that way, and you want to set Lightroom to use that color space so that everything you're editing and seeing and viewing is going to be a lot closer to that final result. Even if your monitor is not calibrated, you're going to be a heck of a lot closer when you do it when you set everything to the same color profile. I'm just going to leave it as sRGB right now because I have a feeling, I don't even know, to be honest, what I had this camera set to. Intent, just leave it at the default. It should be the perceptual. We're just going to leave it there. That's a conversation for print color class. And then if you have to adjust the print, I would hope you wouldn't have to adjust it because you should have done it in the develop module, but we all know certain printers do things differently. So if you know that a certain printer prints a bit darker than how you edited, you could do a print adjustment and you could adjust a little bit brighter, or if there's not enough contrast in the print, you can tweak that here rather than have to do every image. I'm going to leave it off though. And once you're done with all these settings, simply print a file. It's going to ask you where you want to put that. Workflow. I'm just going to put it in here. Test, Facebook, preview. And I'm going to hit save. Again, I'm just going to put a small disclaimer out there and reminder, because we've talked about this before. When you save file names, don't put characters and weird things in there, no commas, definitely no periods in your file name, because the second computers see a period, they're assuming what comes after that is the file extension so that it knows what file type it has to read. And if I put a period right here, it's going to assume preview is the file extension, and it's going to give you an error. So your best bet is not to have any spaces whatsoever, especially for the web. If you need a space in between your image, shift underscore. That's like the fake space when it comes to doing web images. So your best bet is just to capitalize words as, you know, like your separation of your words. But if you don't remember having that conversation, or we haven't had it in, I don't remember if we've had it in this class, but I've talked about it in other classes. Always save your file names without spaces if possible. Use an underscore if you need a space. And then no weird characters like and or quotation marks, dollar signs, any of that stuff. Just simply type it out, no periods. Then hit save. There's my lecture about file names for the day. Hit save, and now that I'm done, it is hanging out, buried here, workflow class, test. Here it is. So now I have a 72 dpi image, which looks horrendous at the moment, and that I could upload to Facebook if I want to. Now, if I'm printing something, let me go to this large picture package here. I'm going to select all my images so that I have all 10 pages of images. I would do something a bit different. And part of this print, as you update each one, it should save whatever settings you have here. So if I go back to, what did I just do? Facebook one? it saved my 72 DPI so that every time you go to print it, you don't have to set this. It might be something too, as you create your templates, you might have all this print job information set before you create the template, just as an FYI. Now, okay, let me go back down to large picture package, select them all again, 10 pages, that is correct. There we go, everyone's positioned correctly. All right, we're good to go. Take that one out. So now when we're printing to an actual image, what you want to look at is file resolution. 240 is the default. You can just leave it as that. 300 DPI or PPI is what we're always told is high res for printing. And 300 PPI is high res, but 240 PPI prints like identical to 300 PPI. It's saving file space is what it's doing, and it's really not necessary to print at 300. What's interesting is when it comes to printing, the smaller the image, the higher resolution you usually need so that you maintain detail, but the larger the image, and he says that somewhere in here too. And I will find the page here quickly as I'm talking, but the larger the image, actually the less resolution you need because of how printers interpolate things. You don't need as high of a resolution as you think when you have larger images. He says it on page 467 is where he talks about that. So when you get to that point in the book, you'll understand a little bit more about what I'm talking about. But for now, for an 11 by 14, I'm just going to leave it at 240. Print sharpening, you can do high, standard, low. High is just fine. Standard will probably be enough for you. Media type is glossy. It's either glossy or matte. So most people don't change it from glossy. It's just like when we saved out your book. My JPEG quality, I'm sending it to White House, so I'm going to do 84. Color management, White House takes sRGB or Adobe RGB. So I'm just going to leave it at sRGB because, again, I don't remember, I believe that was set to Adobe RGB, but I want to make sure before I change that. But either way, that lab takes both, so I'm okay. Print adjustment, I'm going to leave the rest of this stuff. So I simply do print to file, and then I'm going to leave it in here as picture package large. And then I'm going to hit save. And what you're going to see happen once it's done preparing to print, this one's going to take just a little bit longer because it's 2 pages per image, and I have 4 images selected, and it's a high-res document. So it's got a little bit of processing to do, but when it's done, you'll see exactly what it's going to look like here, hoping it goes faster. Well, as it does that, let me go here to your assignment. Ooh, my fan is taking off. So with your assignment, while it's exporting here, let's kind of not sit and wait for it. You're going to create a collection with images called Print Project, and you're just going to dump all the photos you think you're going to use in there. It's fine if you have images that you don't end up using. This is not the end of the world. It's just a separate collection. You have to turn in this Lightroom catalog, or this collection you're going to export as a catalog, because I need to see that you created some templates, that you were able to create your saved picture packages correctly and stuff like that. So just create a new project, dump these images in there that you think you might use for it. And the first one you're going to do just a letter size sheet of paper. It's going to be borderless, meaning a 0-inch margin. And you're going to use the US letter size multi-photo contact sheet. You're going to create 2 rows and 2 columns. So that means there's going to be 4 images per page. When you do the 0-inch margin, you need to go to page setup. Your cell spacing in between is going to be 0. That's those guidelines. You're just going to merge those together to 0. And you're going to make a specific cell height is what you're going to do. And the book will walk you through creating specific sizes, making it a little bit easier for you. borders, everything. I just kind of follow through and check it off as you go so you know you've got all the pieces. You're going to save this as a collection first. Save it as a collection. You're going to call it my 4x4. So it's a 4x4 contact sheet. Then the next one's going to be a custom layout with specific settings. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a custom overlap with 3 border templates. This is exactly one of the things that we do in this chapter. Just trying to find the page here. I'm going the wrong way. Trying to find the page here to give you as a reference. Oh, you know what? This is why I can't find it, because you're using an existing template. So I was thinking of something from chapter 14 that we're doing, where you're going to kind of create the layout from the book. So sorry, I'm doing this backwards here. There is a Lightroom template that is a custom overlap times 3 border, meaning it's 3 images. It's going to have a border around the images, and they overlap each other. So when you get to that point, let me go back to my collection here so I don't screw up my picture package. Okay, yeah. Custom overlap with border. So when you select this, you're simply going to drag and drop 3 images in it. There may be a couple of settings that you have to change with that one, and then you're going to create another saved print when you're done. It's going to be called My Overlap 3. You're going to save that. Then you're going to create a fine art mat. This is one that is out of the, he talks about it in the book, but it's also a template in Lightroom. And you're going to use that fine art one. You're going to, fine art mat, here we go. You're going to use this fine art mat, but you're going to change some of the settings just so it gives you a better result. You're also going to add some text to it when you're doing this, and you may have to create a new preset under the, oops, scrolled past it again. You may have to create a new preset when you're doing photo info in order to get all the information underneath it. So you're going to use that mat. It's simply going to be a single image on a page with information underneath it. You're going to call it My Photo Info when you're done. The last one is a custom layout, but you're going to have to go into the page setup. You're going to have to create a 13 by 19 image, and you're basically going to make this whatever you want it to be, but you're going to include 5 cells and have them be at least 2 different sizes. So by cells, what I'm talking about is these different, oh, I'm on a single image here. Let me go back to, oops, go back here so I can, there we go. So it's just going to be 5 different cells or photo placeholders in a 13 by 19 image. And you have to have at least 2 different sizes, so like a 5 by 7 and a 4 by 6, and then add 3 other images, whether it's those sizes or different sizes to create it. And you're going to just make sure that the background is gray. Include an identity plate. So this is something that could be like a large picture, or a bigger, I shouldn't say large, a bigger picture hanging on a wall with 5 images in the photo on a gray background with your business name or whatever your identity plate is, just you as a photographer, your name at the bottom. So it's kind of like a larger fine art piece compared to the 8 by 10 fine art document template in there. And then you can drag and drop 5 images in there that you think would look cool together, hanging on a wall or sitting on an easel or something like that. And then it's going to be called My Custom 5. Then simply take the custom layout that you create here. You're going to create that as a template. Then you're going to create a template for your 4x4. Or I'm sorry, you're going to save, oops, sorry, you're going to save this one as a template. Sorry, only one template. Call it My Custom 5. Then you're going to save the contact sheets as a JPEG. and you're going to stick that in the folder. And then you're going to export your collection. So if this wedding that I was working on, is a collection, this is the collection I created for the print project with like the 20 or so images I needed. Once all my print collections are saved underneath here, I would just export this as a Lightroom catalog and refer to the document on Blackboard if needed. Export that as a catalog, and then I am good to go. I'm going to add in here one thing though. So one thing I'm going to add is I need you to take a screenshot of this template. So I'm going to simply because I need you guys to, it doesn't always export the templates with your catalog, so I just want you to take a screenshot just in case it doesn't save that, and then you should be good to go. And our timing is perfect because I hear the tiny one waking up. So you're going to take that screenshot of your template. Please don't forget that. That's my quick little addition. If you've completed the assignment ahead of time, it's not the end of the world, but I just want to make sure that you have that. So you're going to submit the collection, so it's going to be the images. Make sure you include the images when you export that catalog, otherwise I can't grade this assignment. You're going to do the collection with all your saved images in it. There's going to be the JPEG that you created from step number 7 for your contact sheets, and the screenshot of the saved template. And switch to server. Okay, hopefully that makes sense as I'm not really reading it as I'm typing. But other than that, you should be good to go. Again, I will answer questions in class. If you need help, I'm not against pushing this back and having you guys submit the Chapter 14 layout assignment. It's a smaller assignment anyway, submitting both of those at the same time. So other than that, you guys should be good to go. Let me know where you have questions. Again, I apologize that it's now Friday and I'm creating this. It's been an interesting week, but we'll be good to go, and we'll catch up whatever we need to do by then. So I will see you guys on Tuesday.